Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
We got a code from Square Enix for Octopath Traveler 2, which is a game that if you don't really know what it is, it's kind of odd. It is very much a 16-bit inspired JRPG, done in kind of this almost trademark style of Square at this point.
The 2D HD.
So if you played like the first one, Live Alive, Triangle Strategy, it very much has that look. So the game is a follow-up to Octopath Traveler, which felt like a very unique idea at the time, like 3 years ago. And then Live Alive came out and I was like, no. This game is just Live Alive. These people played Live Alive and were like, that is such a cool idea. Let's just make
interesting.
that.
Even mechanically you're saying, that's interesting because of the multiple stories thing. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of the thing where it was like, I feel like in my brain at the time when the first one came out, this was such a unique idea. And then I played Live Alive last year.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is where they got it from.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's such a weird connection there. But the basics of it are, you pick one of 8 travelers.
Yep.
And as they go around the world, you meet 7 other travelers. And you go through each of their own personal stories. So that's, I think, kind of the fault of where both of these games kind of run into some faults. And this one cleans it up a lot. Just to be clear, this game is long as shit. It has taken me... I started this about 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's because we had actually gotten this, or we had got this as an early code.
No, we got this we got it on release day. On release day, we got this. And this game is long as shit. So I have played through all 8 stories, which is basically, in my mind, like all those stories done, wrapped up. This one has what's called cross paths, which we'll get into in the middle. Done all that. There is one final chapter, and I was kind of looking into like, okay, like how much longer is this? And you need to have your characters leveled so high to do this. And I think I play this game wrong.
Yeah, that sounds likely. Yeah.
Basically, what I had is you had to have all your characters on like level 50, 55 is the recommended level, and some of the final areas make you use all the different characters apparently. And some of my characters were around level 25 still because I did not like them and did not enjoy using them, so I used them only in the mandatory section. So it was I do not know. It took me 7 weeks to put about 50, 55 hours into this thing. I do not know if I have another 3 weeks in me with this game to get there. So just clarity stake there. But each of the stories is their own thing. They're all, for the most part, good. There's one that I really didn't care for. The other 7 are all fantastic. Just kind of the basics of them. They're very much seem like traditional JRPG stories. So you've got, I started with Thakari, who was a prince of this thing, and basically the king dies, and when he dies, he secretly tells you that he wants you to be king, but your older brother, the mean, gruff, angry, everybody should die and worship me type of guy, takes over, and you, no, let's support the people and take care of them, get basically forced out of town and go around to try and recruit people to come back and take back your kingdom. Again, very generic kind of JRPG story there. The other ones, again, fall into those roles. So you've got like an apothecary, a cleric, a thief, a scholar, all these kind of traditional roles. And some of them are really weird, to say the least. So Throne, who's the thief, basically she's a part of this group who abducts children who are parentless and raises them to be thieves. And she basically is at the point where she realized this is kind of a shitty thing to do and wants out. So her story is basically trying to get out of this like weird cult group of like, and the stories go some really dark places in this, which I thought was interesting. Because I mean, there is some in hers where it's literally like very early on in hers, you meet a group of like slave traders who are making slaves play basically Russian roulette.
Jesus.
It's just like,
is it good or is it just dark? Like, are the stories well written?
It's very good. It's very good. Yeah. It's just one of those things where it kind of like slaps you across the face, because some of these, like, the dancer, I'm blanking on her name off the top of my head. She was the one that I didn't like playing as. But her story is literally like, I'm going to be the best dancer. And every time she goes to town, she inspires the people with a dance and a song of hope. And then she travels to the next one until she tries to become... And then you've got this thief who's running through like all these like criminal underbellies where people are doing these like insanely heinous things, and there's all kinds of like abuse running rampant and slavery and all this stuff running rampant through it. And it's so juxtaposed to that it feels it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Sure.
You've got another, the cleric is investigating the like murder of the high priest of your religion, and you get all these kind of cool, interesting stories that go through. They're very disconnected.
Sure.
So one of the unique things about this game is regardless of who you have in your party and who you have collected, quote unquote, in this point, in terms of the whole main group of 8, all the stories play out the same because no other character shows up in your story. So if you're playing as the cleric, he has his own story with his own side characters that he does everything with. So you go to town, you start his story, you play through his story, none of the other characters show up in any of the dialogue, any of the cutscenes, any of the anything.
So does the game assume, like, if you start the cleric story that you have, could you start the cleric story and have like 2 people in your party and then you steamroll the cleric's first part of the story, or is it, or how does the combat stuff work? Do they, like, your character suddenly pop in when there's combat or something then?
Yep. Yeah. So it's like basically like you go to like the dungeon section, the field area, whatever, and those characters just pop up in battles. It does have like, Tales does it too, where there's weird like travel moments where like you stop and you can have a conversation between 2 characters where like if you're going through the cleric story, the thief will have something to say about it and just have like a little 30-second dialogue just to kind of remind you, hey, we're here too, guys. Hi.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was kind of how the first game handled it too. And there's strengths and weaknesses of that, because I think you lose a little bit of the feeling like these things are really connected the whole way through. And again, they do end up connecting at the end. That's kind of what the final chapter piece is all about. But you lose some of that like camaraderie feeling between this group where they don't feel like this connected party. But at the same time, I think you get a little bit of the like you gain some. I don't need every character's take on everything that's happening. Like this.
Sure.
This doesn't concern you. This doesn't concern you. Just shut up and leave us alone. This part of the story is not for you. Like, we're out of Midgar. You're only involved in the Midgar section. Just shut up. Leave us alone and be in the background.
But it's interesting though, because that's kind of like a weakness of the first. Maybe it's just like a weakness of this just type of game. Dumb question: Is this a sequel to the first game, or is it just like a Final Fantasy where it's just like totally separate? Different thing that you did.
I believe it takes place in the same like world area thing, but like hundreds of years, thousands of years apart. That type of deal.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
I think it's one of those where like there's connected things that I don't know exactly, but that was a weakness of the first, and they did do some things to address it. So again, the final chapter in the first one, the final kind of like boss and dungeon, which I had the same problem in that one, didn't do that either. Very, very vaguely was like, oh yeah, see, look, they're a party now, they're interacting, they're doing this one last thing together. So in this one, as you go through their stories, they all have kind of this like lingering darkness in the background of like there's something like going on more than what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And then when you start the final chapter, it kind of gets into a little bit of what that is. Yeah. And then as you go through, you get there. But there's kind of this lingering sense of like, you're not really finished with their story. Like, it's like, oh yeah, we resolved this, but like,
that sucks though. So I mean, like, did it feel like though, even not having done the super bonus chapter, you have to get every level, like, did it feel like you got like a satisfying conclusion to all 8 stories then? Or
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's like legitimately like, okay, so like one character, and I'll be very vague about how it works, but like one character, his entire story is basically that he wants to be the best merchant in the world, and he is a merchant for the people because, you know, of course, that's capitalism or something.
That's not quite how that works, but okay.
So he's like this like very inspiring merchant who's gonna save towns because he does such a great job. And his main villain is this like evil corporate person who like screwed him over and is trying to like monopolize an industry and become this rich ruler of this and take it away from the people and all this other stuff. And your story is basically like, oh no, we got it back for the people.
Okay.
But also there might have been something influencing what he was doing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like, it's that type of hook. It's not like, and then what? It's like, oh, it kind of gives you that like,
it's almost like a
cliffhanger.
It's
like a season-ending cliffhanger where you're like, that all wrapped up, but like the Mandalorian still got some business left.
Business to take. Oh god, yeah.
Like it's kind of that.
Sure, I got what you mean. Yeah.
So to kind of solve some of that problem, they do have what's called cross paths in this, which are kind of cool. They pop up randomly. And basically what that is it'll pair 2 characters together to go do a side story.
Oh, okay.
So like it'll pop up on your map. So like your map basically just has every town. It's like, here's where the next part of this person's story. Here's the next part of this person's story. Here's the next part of this person's story. These pop up and it'll be like, oh, okay, here's a story between these two characters, and those two characters will go into town, talk about something. Oh, well, together we can probably solve this problem, and then it kind of builds this camaraderie between a couple characters. So they definitely did do some stuff to address that in this one. But
I mean, did you? Yeah. So I mean, how did you feel about it overall, like as compared to the first one? Because I remember the first one we talked about, like you were like, it's fine. And like Octopath 2 is Octopath 2. It's fine too.
No, it's
Okay.
very good. It's very good.
Okay.
The stories are much better. I think the characters are more engaging. The gameplay is very much the same. So just to kind of get into that just real quick here, it's your basic turn-based, but you have BP, which you can kind of use to build up attacks. So you save it, you can do an extra attack, you can increase the power of one. They're really, really, really good. The battle system is great. There were a couple of boss fights where I went in and just got smoked because I had no clue, like the weaknesses of this enemy, those types of things. And then you kind of go, oh, okay, so this happens. He gets a little bit stronger. He knows this move. And then you go back in and it's like, I finished that in like 30 seconds. Done. Easy, no problem.
That's the type of fighting I like in my JRPGs.
Oh yeah, it's the battle system in this is so incredible. Every enemy has weaknesses, so once you pick those out, you nullify their shields. It kills their turns for a turn and a half, depending on when you get them. And then again, you just kind of like tear into them while they're broken. They get their shield back. It's so good. The battle system in this is incredible. It's so much fun to play. I think this one is definitely better than It's Fine. I would say this is a very, 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 very good JRPG.
Okay.
It is way too long for my taste.
Sure.
Give me a nice 30. I'm good around 30. I think I was at about 55 when I started kind of the final chapter and kind of got into what I needed to do with that. So again, it's too long for me at this point in my life. I don't have.
I just imagine the next game. It's like Quadropath Traveler. It's like yes.
No, I mean I'm all in on Octopath Traveler 3. They do.
You're on 8. I just meant with like instead of 8 people, it's like 4 people or something instead.
Yeah. No, give me 4 people. Give me 3 chapters in each character instead of 5. Like let's just pare this guy down for me here. We'll have a good time. Nice. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's super unique. And I have trouble finding faults with it. Again, I think the disconnected thing it's there, but it doesn't really hamper your ability to enjoy it. It's so good. The stories are great. The character's great. Gameplay's great. It's a fantastic game. If you're into JRPGs, definitely one that's worth your time, even if it's 55 hours of your time.
Yeah.
But we are Workforce Gaming. We try to put out new videos every Monday. Please leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you later.
Bye.